Welcome to Petty Details, where we skip down a tree-lined lane of conversation on subjects from music to history and everything in between. Join Meg and Monica in our quest for nuggets of knowledge on all kinds of different subjects. Our journey will drop some petty details on you that you didn't know you needed to know until now. Hello, crew! I'm so excited. Today, we are going to talk about some people's nightmares and other people's obsessions. Snakes.
All right. Oh.
So I want to introduce the crew. As always, we have Monica and Cam. And today we have a guest with us to talk about all things snakes, Michael. So welcome, Mike.
Hey,
Thank
Mike.
you.
We are happy
Thank
to
you for
have
having
you.
me.
Hello.
Okay, so a couple things we got to cover before we start. First of all, my hair is gorgeous.
It is. I was going to say,
Absolutely.
I love the purple.
Hold,
I
please.
absolutely love the purple.
Yes. Yes. It's got
Full
colors
twirl.
underneath.
Full twirl.
Full twirl.
Hold,
Yeah,
please.
yeah,
In that chair.
There we
Oh, yep.
Gotta do the whole. What
There's
was
the
that?
shampoo commercial.
Yeah.
go.
So I want to thank my hairstylist, who is amazing. If you are in the Fort Wayne, Indiana area, it is the 1121 Salon. Give him a call. You can book him on Facebook. He's great. Also reasonable prices. So there's that. So shout out to Scott. The other thing I want to mention is we have cool shirts. So we have our Petty Details crew shirt. Cam says
Let's go in the-
allegedly.
I have one. Allegedly, yeah.
Yeah.
Allegedly, he has that on. And let's go in the Wayback Machine.
Uh-huh.
Complete with sound effects.
Yep. So Mike, if you're any good, we might give you a shirt. Your own Snake Man shirt.
Okay.
Hammer the Snake Man. That's what we're gonna call you.
I'm
There
ready.
you go.
Yeah. Number one seller.
That's
What can I
right.
say?
Yeah.
All right. So we are going to talk about some phobias here to start with, okay? Because top 10 common fears are things like heights, flying, spiders, claustrophobia, and snakes. Some studies have said that the fear of snakes can be traced down to our ancestors who would avoid snakes because obviously some of them can kill you. So these genes have been passed down. But there are a little less than 4,000 known species of snakes around the world. Is that about right, Mike?
Yeah, and it seems like they're discovering new stuff all the time too, so that's really cool.
Yep. And there are about 600 of those snakes that are venomous. So there you go.
Say that one more time.
600 snakes that are venomous. That's hard to say.
How many
There
are
you go.
poisonous?
Yeah.
What's the difference?
One is if you
Exactly.
eat them, and one is if they bite you.
Right. I'm like, hold on. What's the difference?
If I could like tattoo that on my forehead so that people would just remember that, man, my life would be so much easier.
See, that's how I
Um,
feel. That's how I feel when people call concrete cement. It's not. It's not.
Really?
Different.
Yeah. Bugs. I don't
See,
know.
I just learned something right now.
Cement is one of the ingredients in concrete.
No, okay.
Okay.
Hang on.
Yeah,
You just blew some minds right there.
I'm a different kind of nerd.
Yeah.
Shout out to the nerds.
Yes, all the nerds.
So I want to tell you guys a little story. Monica, I don't want to hear your mouth on this at all. So
Is there any opportunity for a that's what she said?
probably.
Just asking.
It's the
For a
only thing
friend.
you should say during this story. So
Asking for a friend.
the one and only time that I have seen a venomous snake in the wild, Monica, you know this story. Monica, me, and this friend of ours had gone down to southern New Mexico, and we stopped at this abandoned school. And we were, checking it out, taking pictures. And all of a sudden, I look down and I see this huge rattlesnake next to me.
It was like 20 feet away from you.
I said, I don't want to hear your mouth. And I'm telling you, this rattlesnake is staring me in the eyes.
From
like
20
that
feet away.
freaking snake from Jungle Book. He's got the staring. I'm telling you right now.
The hypnotic eyes
I'm
from
gonna
20
mute
feet
you.
away.
Yeah,
I'm about to mute you.
Okay, I'm stopping. I'm stopping.
So-
I'm sorry. He was very close. I know. I'm sorry.
I'm like, nope, I'm out of here, right? So I turn and I book it. And being the good friend that I am, I tell my friends. And okay, one of whom was wearing like this maxi dress with like flip-flops. And I'm like, run. And what do? They look
Yeah.
at me like I'm stupid and just stand there. So now here I am trying to be a good friend, them knowing that I do not run for shit, and they just stand
No.
there. Like it could have been an alien, it could have been anything. It could have been a
Because-
killer.
It was so far away.
You hush. You hush. So they
Oh.
finally like mosey on over to where I'm at, and they're like, it was a snake? And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, why'd you run? And I'm like, look, these rattlesnakes are known to chase you, and they will chase you down. Like I stole its car, and they are fast, and that's why I ran. I mean, obviously, because it's a killer. It's like thug life, okay?
It was so far.
Oh.
Shh. So anyway, so that is the only time that I've ever seen a venomous snake in the wild. I ran from it because it was closer than they think. And now the whole joke is about how rattlesnakes will chase me specifically,
Because
and
she
all
ran.
because I was trying to be a good friend.
I mean, that's why you don't run. Number one, stand your ground.
I probably would have laughed seeing me run. It wasn't graceful, I will say that.
I mean, if I probably would have laughed if I wasn't like, "Hey, come check out this snake," and like trying to catch it and like move it to safety away from people.
Right.
Yeah,
I would have been laughing if not for that. Yeah.
Right.
yeah. To be fair, it was doing its own snake thing in a place that did not have people normally. So
We were kind of trespassing in its territory.
yeah.
Yeah, it's like
But
you
I can
walked into my
appreciate the
house.
respect.
So
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. We
Yeah,
walked into
I
its
can
house for
appreciate the
sure.
respect.
So anyway, that's my story and I'm sticking to it. So I'm going to tell you another story though. This is about a dude out in North Carolina. His name is Dean Ripa. Have you heard of him, Mike?
Unfortunately, I have.
Okay. So he grew up being kind of bullied. He found his interest in snakes when he found that like the bullies were scared of snakes. And kind of a weird guy. This leads him to study everything he could about them. And he even went so far as to get venomous snakes from dealers over the phone when he was in his teens. These are very reputable dealers, I'm sure.
I was gonna
Um,
say like black market dealers or
I think they were actual like normal dealers, but
okay.
he sounded more knowledgeable and probably older. And this was probably what, 70s, I'd say
Okay.
ish.
Oh yeah, you
So
could get a tiger over the mail too. So
yeah. They're like, oh, we'll just
Wow.
mail it.
True.
It's fine.
Things were slightly more relaxed
Yeah.
back then.
Post office won't care.
little bit.
Yeah.
So his first bite is from a cottonmouth when he's about 14. This was not only a problem because obviously he'd been bitten, but he's not getting bitten out in the wild, okay? He needed to go to the hospital, but because his parents were probably going to find out about the 50 snakes that he had in his room, including rattlesnakes.
how does he?
Yeah. Dude is
50 and
you hide
14.
that?
In just his room,
How do
there
you
were
hide-
50. Wow.
I don't know. So he's got
Hmm.
rattlesnakes, he's got water moccasins, he's got freaking cobras in his room at 14 years old.
The sound that must be coming from his room. Like I could just imagine.
Yeah.
What is that, sweetie? Oh, it's nothing. Just
Yeah. I think his parents
Keep walking,
were super
Mom. It's
involved,
okay.
right? Yeah.
yeah.
So he ends up in the ICU for about 2 weeks, and his dad is like, nope, we're not doing this. And he took the whole collection and donated them to this roadside zoo. Okay. So you'd think after this incident that his parents would do like mandatory searches of his room for snakes. Apparently not.
Right.
Mm-mm.
No. So about a
He
year
won't
after
do it again.
no. Don't do this. This is
As
bad.
the narrator
Yeah.
says, and they did not do
right.
continuous checks.
Yeah.
Exactly. So after about a year after this first bite, this kid is like collecting snakes for the same roadside zoo that had his original collection. And somehow he ends up with another cobra. And what happens? It gets loose in the house. And the whole family
Ooh.
has to move out for
Oh.
5 days until they find it.
Oh, jeez. I mean,
Oh.
I would move out, just
Sounds about
period.
right.
But yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, can they not ground this kid? Like, what the hell's going on with his family?
Well,
That's what I want to
at
know.
least he told them. He could have just not
Right.
said anything.
True.
Then someone finds Cobra somewhere later.
Right? She's like
In the
going,
shower.
right?
Oh, hey.
It's just hanging out.
It's like snakes on a plane, only snakes in the shower. Can
Oof.
see it. Ooh,
I think I've seen a movie like that before.
right? I'm like, and we just lost all of our listeners right there because now they're
Right.
like, nope, I'm not listening to the rest of this.
Hopefully, none of them are listening in the shower.
Yeah, please don't listen to this. I'm going to put a disclaimer: do not listen in the shower.
Yeah. POV, you are Snake. Yeah, no.
So his collecting continues for about 30 years, and he ends up opening this serpentarium. Am I saying that right? Okay.
Yes.
In Wilmington, which he called Cape Fear Serpentarium. So, Mike, tell me what a serpentarium is.
My rough translation would be like the perfect combination of a museum slash maybe like zoo, but very species specific.
Okay.
So in the background you can probably see some stuff. I call this my little serpentarium. It's my office slash animal room. So I have all my snakes in here. And again, to me, it's more of like this is where I have everything. I have my equipment, I have my tools, I have everything that I need to essentially provide the best husbandry that I can to the animals that I keep. But there's also an opportunity that like if guests come over or something like that, I can educate like, hey, this is what I have. This is what you can touch. This is what you shouldn't touch. Species names, just like everything, everything nerd, basically. Everything that you can be a nerd about is
Snake
pretty
nerds.
much contained in this room. So serpentarium just extends to that museum slash part zoo, I guess you could say.
Okay. So this exhibit, I'm going to call it, right? Had one of the largest collections of exotic venomous snakes in the US at that time.
Okay.
There were about 100 on display, and then there were dozens and dozens of different species that he had. But Dean was apparently one of the first people to breed a black-headed bushmaster in captivity. And he ended up selling a lot of the bushmaster, say that 3 times fast, bushmaster babies, there we go, to zoos and like to researchers. And at one point, he also had a full wall of bushmasters in his house. So can you tell me anything about bushmasters? Like how big is this snake?
Yeah.
What are we talking here?
So gigantic. King cobras are the longest venomous snakes. They can get like 12 to 16. Bushmasters are right behind them. They're huge, 10 to 12, 15 feet.
Whoa.
They're, to me, like the way that I describe them is they're dragons without legs. Because if you get a really good shot of like a close up of the scales of a bushmaster, they're really raised, and they're very how do you say they're just hard, like they're made out of keratin like your fingernails, so like they're super super rough. But the environment they come from, like Central South America, you have to be on guard all the time, because if you're not eating, you're getting eaten, kind of thing.
Okay.
But the color patterns and like the black head that you mentioned, like it's a weird, it almost looks like a cape because it starts at the front and kind of goes back into their neck, and then like the lower part of their jaws are a lighter color. They're magnificent creatures, like insane, beautiful, beautiful things. Toxicity levels are kill you, not have fun while you're dying kind of toxicity levels. They're big time up there on the list for that too. But but again, it's all environment. You got to poison dart bugs are down there the same, and they don't
Yeah.
do anything, and they kill people. So, yeah, bushmasters are very highly regarded, and the fact that somebody like him had as many as he did, and to produce what he produced in the snake world, at least, he's like Mount Rushmore kind of status,
All
minus
right.
some other things.
Right. So this dude somehow gets bitten by a bushmaster or bushmasters 7 freaking times in his life, and he lives.
Jeez.
He's got natural immunity, probably at that
Right?
point.
Seriously. What?
I don't know. I don't know. And he's like, this is where I think he's a weirdo, because he's like, it was an honor to get bit. Like, he wants to get bitten because he said that it meant that he, quote, beat the devil. And I'm like,
Yeah,
okay.
there's some other things going on there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or not
Yeah.
going on. I mean, depending on how you look at it, I guess.
Yeah. So one of his Bushmaster bites, and I think it's the last one, but I'm not sure. He made it to his wife and a friend, and they were able to save him because he had some anti-venom around. And they get him to the hospital. Okay. But Dean ends up dying in 2017. How do you think he died?
Snake bite.
Oh
No.
no, I'm thinking like I'm thinking of like intricate. Like he fell off of like a table and like
He fell in the shower.
onto a pair
Right.
of scissors or something.
Slipped and
Yeah,
fell.
something incredibly insane. Yeah.
Well, okay, Cam, you are correct. It is incredibly insane. His wife shot him.
Oh. What?
And that came out of left field.
That's why I had
She
to
got-
tell this story.
She got tired of giving him antivenom. Stop
Yeah,
getting bitten.
no, for real.
Yeah. So
No
no,
more
apparently
snakes.
she did
Yeah.
have like a history of mental health issues. Like she was I think like schizophrenic or something. It was something like that.
Yikes.
Mhm.
She ends up being found not guilty by reason of insanity, and she was committed.
Whoa.
Okay.
hmm
And they
So-
have like they know it's her that shot him. Like
Well, first of
Confirmed.
all, there were 911 calls going back and forth, so the cops had already been out there because she was having a break.
an episode.
Yeah, but there was also somebody else there when it happened.
Oh.
So-
Okay. Okay.
Mhm.
Eyewitness.
Yes. hmm
And all the snakes saw it.
Yep.
And all the snakes
Yeah,
saw it.
yeah.
And they
I
were
bet you they
testifying there.
testified.
Reliable witnesses
Yeah.
right there.
They're like, I bit him, but she shot him. So
Right.
Yeah. He
More
survived
than
me.
she gets
He
arrested
did not
before I
survive
do.
her.
Right? Who's the worst here?
Yeah.
Who's the worst?
Exactly.
Yeah.
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 So is that why you know him, Mike? Because of his Bushmaster status or because his wife shot him?
Both, honestly. Yeah. Like I said, there's there's a lot of big names, and especially now, with the prevalence of social media and all that fun stuff. There's a lot of big names in the hobby, and I don't know. For me, at least, I like to look at it for like the positive side of things. He was able to make huge advancements on the scientific side of things, and be able to, like produce and kind of cultivate a very surprisingly delicate species with the bushmasters, because as crazy dragon-esque as they are, they can easily, not survive even captivity, which is
Really?
still mind-blowing. Yeah, it's crazy. So like what he did for the hobby, and just for the overall just animal kingdom, I guess you could say, like, I give him his flowers for that. I will not be afraid to say that the fine line of mental conditions and reptile keeping overall, not just snakes, is a very fine line, and that that includes myself. So no, like I said, there's a lot of influencers out there that are making big strides for the reptile community and conservation efforts, and private keepers like myself, making big efforts for for us to be able to keep and enjoy the animals that we love, you know. So um
How'd you get into this?
always, how did I get into it?
Yeah.
So I was raised out here in Albuquerque. And as a kid, you know, I was an 80s, 90s kid. So I was grounded by going outside, like get out of the house. I would drive
Yeah.
my mom crazy.
That's
You
true
know what I mean?
though.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Go
yeah.
cause trouble
Like,
out there.
Right?
yeah, she's like, you know what? You're driving me insane. Get outside. So like it went from like just being outside all the time to like, hey, let's go catch lizards out in the desert. You know, let's go do this, let's go do that. And it went from lizards to tarantulas to hey, let's get some snakes. The neighbors had snakes at the time. And then once I got into like maybe my 20s ish, one of my bandmates had a bunch of snakes. He actually had a bunch of rattlesnakes in his house. And that was enough for me to be like, yeah, I want to do this now. So I kind of took it on, and I've been keeping critters for probably like 20 plus years now. So,
So was your mom okay with you like keeping the snakes in the house?
oh, hell no. Can I curse on
Did-
this show?
Yeah.
Um, no, no, no. I was not able to bring anything home at all. Like take it to the neighbors, leave it outside. You know what I mean? Like,
So
We had
she
a fish
actually
tank.
did mandatory room checks. it
Yeah.
sounds like.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
she was like, "You're crazy if you think you're bringing that stuff." So, you know, flip side, right? Like, all right, you're not gonna let me enjoy this. Watch this. So one, rest in peace, mom. She's cleaning the house one day, and she's like, she sees this thing like kind of like zipping across the floor and stuff, and of course, I'm standing outside the screen door, like trying not to laugh and bust my cover. But I had got a couple lizards and I let them loose in the house. And so she's
Oh.
vacuuming and cleaning, and she like keeps on seeing. And she, I mean, she was afraid of her own shadow at times. So like once she finally figures out what's in the house, you know, she's screaming at me and like, "Where the heck are you?" Da 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 da. And I'm like, I'm on the floor laughing. You know what I mean? Like, because of course this is a great experience. Like, look, I scared the hell out of my mom.
Imagining her like standing on the couch, like yelling at you
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
with her
Pulling
with her
her
chancla
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
in her hand.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know-
Trust me, the chocolate came in.
I was gonna say chancla in one hand and the broom in the
Yeah.
other.
Yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Me and the broom are very familiar because I was a little bit quicker back then, you know.
Yes.
She needed the longer
But no,
reach.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So like here I am, like busting the gut, rolling around on the porch outside the front, you know, the front door. And so I go inside and I'm like, what's wrong? What happened? Why are you screaming so crazy? And she's like, if you don't get these things out of here, I'm gonna kill you and them. So of course I caught them, put them back where they belonged. And yeah, ever since I was a kid, I got into all this stupid stuff, and I haven't grown up yet.
Well, yes, we know that. Cam,
All the
have
best
you
people
ever
haven't.
kept any crazy animals in your house?
Um, not that I can think of. Um, no, nothing crazy. We had like I think the most like out of there was like a fish, and that's not even crazy. So,
So your mom
and
didn't
it didn't
throw the
last.
shoe at you?
No, no, no. I didn't have like a like if I wanted to see animals, I would go outside. I knew not to bring them back because I knew that wasn't an option.
Yeah.
He knew,
So,
but he knew
He
better.
knew better, yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I was like little bugs and stuff like that. I always enjoyed like watching the bugs in like the ground and like playing in the mud and stuff like that as a kid. So like roly polies and centipedes and all those, like all of those would be all around. But
Centipede's
no,
not
never.
okay.
Yeah.
I would never bring them back into the house for sure. Yeah.
Smart man.
hmm
So
Because then if it gets lost in my room, then I have to deal with it.
that's
so I'm
true.
like, well,
That's true.
Good point.
So has anybody here ever been bitten by a venomous snake? I have not because I ran away because I'm smart.
Because you're fast.
I'm fast.
It was so far away from you. No. I have never been.
I haven't.
I'm going to continue to bring that up just as often as I can. You were so far away from me.
I hate you.
Well, you love me, but it's okay.
Mike, you're surprisingly quiet over there.
Bitten by a snake? Yes. Venomous? No.
Okay.
Not gonna
That's
lie.
good.
Good. Good. So what is the coolest snake you've owned then?
Oh man, that's a tough one. Can I give you more than one? I think one of my favorites was they're called Asian vine snakes, and they look exactly like they sound. Super long and skinny, like tropical green color, very arrow narrow shaped head, but they have binocular vision, which is really really cool. So they have these big old googly eyes almost.
Cool.
But their normal hunting technique, because they're arboreal, they live in the trees, so they do this whole like, look at me, I'm swaying in the breeze. I'm
So
not
they
a vine.
are the Jungle
Like a-
Book snakes.
They're kind of like that, yeah. But I think what was his name? Oh man, I forgot the snake's name. I think he was a cobra though.
Oh.
I think
Oh,
he was
okay.
like they tried to portray him as a cobra. I don't know. But no, the Asian vines, I really, really enjoyed keeping that species for a while. That was probably like 12, 14 years ago or so. I had just had one of them. But yeah, he had this really cool technique. He would like sway in the wind, like, no, I'm not a snake. I'm not gonna eat you. And then I fed him, he ate lizards. That was his normal diet. And so he'd go after him, and he was really, really neat. Right now in this big tank behind me, I have a couple Woolman pythons. They're an Australian species. They look like they almost look like a candy cane. They have a bright red head, and then their bodies are like tan and red, like banded almost. And they have this black kind of almost like a mask also on the top of their heads that look almost like a skull kind of pattern. So like a human skull kind of pattern. So they're pretty neat. I've always really, really enjoyed those guys.
How big do
they get pretty
get?
big too, like 6, 7, 8 feet long.
Good
Pretty
God.
good size.
Wow.
Oh,
Right? That's what I was thinking, Cam. I'm like, pretty good size. Damn, that's bigger than I am.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, you're fine.
Am I gonna have to mute you again, Monica?
Sorry.
What
I'll
else?
stop.
You know what? Those are probably the two coolest I think that I've ever kept. Now I have friends and colleagues that have their own serpentariums as well at home, and some of the species that they have are insane to say the least, and not dangerous or anything, like potentially dangerous, but like insane in the fact of like they do belong in zoos. Like these are the species that are stuff you see on TV kind of stuff.
Is there an
And
actual serpentarium in Albuquerque or no?
no, unfortunately, we just have the zoo and the
Yeah.
reptile house in the zoo. But I do work for the Rattlesnake Museum. I do their social media page, essentially just Instagram for now. But I guess it is labeled a museum just because of I think of how the setup is. But you know, like you could also semi-label it a serpentarium as well because we have I want to say there's roughly 40 to 50 species on site right now on display.
Wait, of just
and they all-
rattlesnakes?
most of them are rattlesnakes. I think there's only a handful that are not. Yeah,
There are that many
wow.
species of rattlesnakes?
I should probably know exactly how many, but I don't.
Holy crap.
But there's a bunch. Yeah.
Wow. Is there
Um,
like a particular kind of snake? Like, do you have like a dream snake that you
More than one.
want to own someday or want
Yeah,
to?
more than one.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice. What kind?
Another Australian species that are related to my womas is called the black-headed python, and it's basically a woma, but take the red out and exchange it for black, and they get even bigger.
Oh, wow.
Those guys have been on my list for a long, long time. There's another one called an eastern indigo. It's native to like the southeast U.S. and it's to me the way I describe it to some people is like take a king cobra and take the venom away from a king because the eastern indigos they eat everything. Like they just decimate. You name it, they can eat it. Snakes,
Oh, wow.
rattlesnakes.
And watch out
rodents.
because they're in your area.
Oh, right.
yeah.
They're beautiful though. They're absolutely
One comes up
beautiful.
from
They
behind me, just
Right?
they also get quite large.
Wow.
Anywhere from 6 to 8, maybe 10 feet long. But I mean, they're not like anaconda big. They're relatively narrow when it comes to like girth, but that's what she said.
You beat me. Dang it.
But the coloration on them is
Oh
great.
my gosh.
It's like a really dark black, and they have like a really like crazy blue iridescence color to them.
Oh,
So
cool.
Yeah, they're beautiful.
That
So those
is-
guys have always.
Sorry, go ahead. Keep going.
No, I was gonna say those guys have been on the top of my list for a long time too, but they're federally protected, so
Okay,
can't mess with them.
gotcha. That is one thing I will say about snakes. uh, Regardless of the fact that I don't like them very much, some of them are gorgeous. Just absolutely stunning colors, patterns, the details in their scales. Yeah, I mean, they are beautiful creatures. I will absolutely give them that.
Yeah, there's and I think the more like you're kind of involved in it, the more you learn and the more you nerd out. Gaboon vipers from Africa, like for me, it just screams like African colorations and patterns because they look like the leaf litter that they live in on the ground. And the colorations of those guys,
Wow.
absolutely incredible. They have the longest fangs for venomous species, and I think they still hold the record for most venom like produced and used per bite in a venomous snake. But I mean,
Wow.
inch long fangs. They're
Oh,
gigantic.
geez.
That must hurt.
Yeah.
Oh,
But their heads are, I mean, their heads are huge. So, and they're lightning fast when they're striking. If they're not striking, they just look like a pile of dead leaves. They
Oh,
don't do
that's
much.
not
But when
scary
it's
at all.
right.
yeah,
Right.
it's
Yeah.
they're little landmines,
Yeah.
literally landmines.
Jeez.
Venomous snakes, or as some people in the hobby call them, hots. Um, I've been around hots in the past. Before my daughter was born, I did keep a albino Western Diamondback rattlesnake in my living room. His name was Powder, and
That was a really good movie.
Yeah, I'm like, that was a
wasn't
movie,
it?
Cam, that you need to
Oh,
see.
okay. I was gonna say that's a cute name.
Cam, add it
He
to
was
your
bright
list.
yellow. Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Um, so I've been around them. I have kept venomous in the past, but again, that was before the kiddo was around. And once she was born, I was like, all right, time to be an adult. I'll just keep non-venomous stuff now.
There you go.
So, like, what kind of permits do you have to have these snakes? Are there any permits that you need? Do you just need permits
Yes.
to sell them? Like, how does that work?
Well, yeah, it's all state to state basis. So each state has, and almost each county, they have their own bylaws as far as how they handle exotic species. So speaking for New Mexico, or at least Albuquerque, we are not legally allowed to keep anything venomous in our homes in the county I live in. You can get permits to essentially recognize your expertise and handleability. I don't know if it's a word. Um, but to essentially prove that you're capable of keeping these things and not dying or killing anyone else, like your neighbors. Um, but each state has a very specific list. Like Florida, for example, with all the Burmese and stuff, Florida is really cracking down. You can't keep a lot of those things because a majority of the stuff that people want, if it gets out, it's going to survive and thrive in that wilderness. So
Oh, yeah,
it's
and
going
it
to
could
take
kill
over.
like normal species that live there, huh? Okay.
Yeah. So it's
Right.
like there's the invasive species aspect of it, of like it taking over. That's why you can't have like piranhas in Florida. Does somebody probably have them? Of course, but you can't keep like piranhas and stuff like that because if you let them go in your backyard pond, which there's a million ponds out there, they're going to thrive and they're going to eat all the natural wildlife. But then you also have I don't want to use the word dangerous, but you also have the aspect of like, what's the human interaction element? Like if this thing does get out, goes to the neighbor's house, bites a kid or bites, somebody, what's going to happen there? So, but yeah, it's all state to state kind of based. And it seems like those laws are changing on a daily basis as well. Just because I've seen a lot in the past few months of, just laws that are trying to be either put into place or have already happened to limit not only like the variation of species, but also like the number. You can only have so many of these or that kind of thing. But then I'll use Australia as an example. There's no exportation from Australia at all. So all the cool stuff they have there stays there. You can't bring it overseas. You can't take it to other foreign countries kind of thing.
Oh, okay.
And then like there's a lot of species specific stuff for that too. from other countries around the world. Like, hey, like for the longest time, there was a very popular tarantula species, and everyone's seen them at least once. They were in Breaking Bad, the little rose hair, Chilean rose hair,
Mhm.
That's how the tarantulas walk, just so you know.
Yes.
basically.
There were not any in Colorado though.
There
so
were.
There were not.
Not Chilean, but
They weren't
Yeah.
Chilean, no.
you're right. Yeah, yeah.
No, there were
Um,
no tarantulas on that road.
There were.
There were.
um, so those guys, for example, you can't export those. And when I worked at a pet store years and years ago, I would sell those for $20 a pop, and I would sell like 10 a day. It felt like, because
Wow.
they were the easiest
Wow.
to keep. They were the friendliest. They were, low maintenance kind of thing. And if you wanted a pet spider, you could brag to say, "Hey, check out this giant tarantula."
Right.
So,
It's terrifying to
but
me.
yeah, a lot of
Yeah.
regulation nowadays.
Okay. So, is it true that you can become allergic to the snakes after the venomous snakes after handling them for so long, and that if that happens, being bitten can make it worse or even kill you faster? Is that a thing? I heard that
Yeah, you
somewhere.
don't even have to be bitten. There's a lot of guys that have worked with venomous for so long that even if they're around dried venom and it gets into the air, that can cause them to have, anaphylactic kind of episodes as well. So yeah, that's definitely a real thing. Venom essentially is just saliva on steroids. It's There's a lot of proteins packed into it, and each one has its own specific job and what it does. And so, for example, like using spitting cobras as an example, those guys, they're like sprinklers. You could walk by the enclosure and they'll just spray at you because they hate you and they want, they want you to, lose your eyesight forever kind of thing.
Jesus.
And so, yeah, sometimes they can be pretty cantankerous. But so what'll happen is that venom will just dry like on the glass. And if the keeper's not, doing a diligent job of making sure that that's not cleaned up, it'll crystallize and dry. And then if it flakes off, it'll just go into the air. And then, you walk by and you breathe it in. And if you do have an allergy, it's going to be a bad day.
Oh,
Wow.
God.
Maybe for some equivalent of getting bit. Yeah.
No, I guess if you're doing it for long enough, huh?
Yeah.
Wow.
And then like some guys that have been bitten enough by certain species, they'll get another allergy and it all works to kind of together in the same way. So
So it's like an allergy thing that you build up when you've been bitten more. It's not like a tolerance thing.
yeah, there's a lot of guys that try to play that tolerance game, and I don't know what to say to them. Like, oh, if I inject myself with venom every day for so many days, I'm like, you're not Spider-Man, bro. Calm down.
No
That's not
special
how this
powers are
works.
coming out of this.
Right?
Yeah,
Literally.
that's not how this works. Unfortunately, there's been a bunch of those guys. Not going to name any names, but there's been a bunch of those guys that are like, yeah, I'm going to treat myself. I'm going to inject myself, and then if I do get bitten, and then there's been a handful of them that they do get bitten, and then they're dead, and it's like, oh, way to go! Your science went out the window. Good
You're like,
job.
Right.
what happened there?
Yeah.
And then yeah, it
Right.
makes the rest of us kind of look like, oh, you guys are special.
So, like, how expensive is this hobby? Like, how much do these snakes cost on average?
Oh man.
As I think that it would be an expensive hobby, but I mean, I don't know.
Well, and I'm sure it's like any pet, once you start getting into all the like the terrariums and everything that goes with specific breeds and stuff like that, like I'm sure it can just start to add up pretty quick.
Yes and no. That's what's crazy about this whole thing. I've been keeping, like I said, for quite some time, and I started doing like the basic, like, hey, let's get a fish tank, build it up, make it nice, make sure the snake's comfortable, kind of thing. Nowadays, the big trend is to do fully bioactive vivariums. So, like, essentially building a miniature ecosystem in an enclosure, mimicking light patterns, mimicking ultraviolet rays, all these kind of things.
Wow.
And
Dang.
when you get to those levels,
That's
yeah,
crazy.
you're gonna put some money into that.
Yeah.
When it comes to
Right.
the animals, like, this is the mind blowing part for me even still. Texas is very how do you say, relaxed on some of their animal keeping laws and such. So
You
that's
don't
why you
say.
see like so exotic. Yeah, and all those homies. Um, I went to a couple of reptile shows out in Texas years and years ago to kind of just see what they were all about because I'd never been exposed to that. And so Gaboon Viper, again, revisiting that guy, one of the most deadly species in the entire world. And if I wanted one, I could have bought one for $100.
Are you serious?
Jeez.
Oh my goodness.
That's
Yeah.
it?
Yeah, $100.
Jesus.
Wow.
Yeah, I
There are
thought that
certain
would be
species
like
of,
way, way more than that.
Oh yeah.
that's what I said. That's honestly what I said too. Because before I really got into that aspect of things, that was my mindset too. Like, hey, not only is this thing like potentially life impacting, but like it's beautiful. Like it's an amazing creature. Like look how
Mhm.
majestic this animal is. It's got to be $1 million. No, and there was
Dang.
like 50 on
Wow.
the table. And they're like, pick which one you like the most. $100, please.
Jeez.
And I was like,
Jesus.
okay.
Wow.
On the flip side of that, just like other species like dogs, and I'll just use dogs. There's a lot of designer species,
Mhm.
and there's a lot of designer traits that people seek out. And so you can't see them, but on my right hand side over here, I have some hognose snakes, and they are genetically very specific with the traits they express, like um, coloration and pattern wise. And so if you want a normal hognose that like you would see in the wild, you can get those for $100, $200 on average. Some of these guys, I've seen them depending on the genetic traits and what they kind of possess that way. I saw one the other day for 12,000.
$12,000?
Yeah,
Whoa.
and that's cheap.
What?
Yeah,
Oh my God.
Wow.
see, and that's what's crazy. You know what I mean? Because same thing, albinos. Albinism pretty much exists in, let's just say, 99 species, percent of species on the planet, kind of thing.
Right.
10 years ago, an albino, average python, 800,000 bucks. 10 years before that, $10,000. Like, yeah. So the more and more, these people are getting into breeding and reproducing and creating the next big morph, as they call it, color mutation, the price tag kind of gets attached. But again, that's almost like a niche kind of thing in a way where you get this, there's a separation of folks that like, okay, I want the naturally occurring coloration and how they're supposed to look. And then you get the folks that are like, no, I want
I want a
to custom.
labradoodle of a snake.
No.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Jeez.
Jesus.
some venomous species are still pretty expensive just because of the rarity and how they are, how do you say, how they're found to be in captivity. Um,
Hmm.
there's a market, and it's a dark color, and it it flourishes because everybody wants something that they're not supposed to have. And
Right.
There is that draw.
unfortunately, yeah.
Yeah.
So, and going back to the legality of things, it's like it's a push pull. It's always a catch-22 because it's like, all right, cool, you can put all these laws in, but you realize that's just going to strengthen another aspect of
Oh
the
yeah.
world that we
People are
live
gonna
in.
do it
Mhm.
anyway, yeah.
Right.
So it's tough. It makes it super difficult when it comes to that because that, to me, it increases the drive too, because it's like, oh well, you know what, now I am going to get one of these, watch this. And at the end of the day, who really suffers? The environment, the animals,
Hmm.
not
Yeah.
not these guys that are making a couple of bucks here and there kind of
Oh,
thing.
yeah.
So
Dang.
So what's the biggest misconception you think about snakes?
that they chase you.
That is a truth. That is a truth that you've just learned today in
Oh,
Petty
no.
Details.
No, that's one I like to talk about. Another one is that they're aggressive. um to me, they are like they're like the big guy at the bar. Like they just want to be left alone. They don't want to be bothered. Like
Until
if
they're
anything, they're
cornered,
gonna,
they're not really gonna
yeah,
be the aggressor,
yeah.
like you said. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've met snakes that have good attitudes and some that are just like not in the mood all the time kind of thing. And it's just like, hey, they're just like us. They're just like
I've
people in the
met
fact
people
that
like that though.
Right.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
Right.
Yeah, I know
yeah.
some
right.
people that'll
So,
bite you right away.
yep.
I mean, hey, that hasn't gone to trial yet. Okay. No, I think that's that. Like they're never aggressive. It's more like put yourself in their position. Like if you're looking up at something that's 100 times your size and
yeah.
is either gonna stomp on you or eat you or you know what I mean, like make a pair of shoes out of you, and you have no arms or legs, and you have one defense system.
Right.
Well, what options do you really have?
Right.
So, that's one thing I like to kind of point out to folks. And then again, the tattoo, venomous versus poisonous, like that one. I that's a hill I will proudly die on.
So, what do you think is like the most fascinating thing that you've learned about snakes when you actually have them in your house?
Oh man, that list goes on, and it grows every day, which is cool. One cool thing that I did find out is there's a hospital in Chicago, I believe, and I think they're still doing this, but they're one of the top cardiac surgery centers like in the country. And one of the doctors there, she discovered that a protein strain in Western Diamondback venom, which again, those guys are out here naturally. Um, they produce almost like a anticoagulant naturally, which helps in the snake's digestion. But for open heart surgery, it kills and breaks down. Not kills. It breaks down. What's the word I'm looking for? The big chunks of blood.
Clots.
Thank you.
Thoughts.
It kills clots.
So
It kills
it kills clots.
Yeah.
That sounds like
Yeah.
a gang thing. So she pioneered this whole case study, and she's been actively using it to perform open heart surgery, and some of these patients that may have not had a high probability of making it through, like it's increased their livelihood and chances of making it through these pretty invasive surgeries.
That's
So,
pretty cool.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
yeah, the strength of venom, like that, I nerded out on that for a really long time. Semi-related, Gila monsters, they are a venomous lizard, and their venom is actually being used and is currently on the market now for diabetic medication, because
What?
Gila monsters can eat like once every couple months and be completely fine, but they slow down their metabolism so crazy that that's how they can survive and be okay. So what they did
Wow.
was they took that element of their venom and made it into a diabetic medication, so that like the insulin and the way your body metabolizes food increases your insulin production and all that fun stuff. I don't know enough about it, but it definitely impacts diabetic patients.
That is
So
really
Wow.
cool.
That
That's
is really
And I
awesome.
cool.
mean,
Yeah.
that's like the tip of the tip of the tip of the iceberg, when it comes to all this venom research. And like I said, they're still learning more and more every day. There's a blue ring octopus. I think blue ring octopus are one of the most venomous species in the ocean ever, and they're like the size of a tennis ball.
Wow.
I didn't know that.
They are incredible. Yeah. They are so amazing. And like you only see the blue rings when they like get pissed off. Essentially, they start flaring them, and that's a whole nother thing. Like don't my nerd is showing right now. But they have a painless bite. So like
Oh
they bite you and
no.
then you die. Yeah, and then you die. So but they're taking some samples from their stuff and making a pain medication out of their venom, because it's like, duh, you don't feel it.
Yeah. Right.
So
That's crazy.
Right.
Wow.
yeah, that's some of the funnest stuff I've learned so far. Is just like how these things impact us, and we don't even know it. You know what I
So
mean? Like
snakes
they're
are not all bad.
surprise, surprise.
To some people, snakes are not bad at all.
That's right.
Adam and Eve.
Yeah.
Different
Might
story.
argue against that, but
Well, that's crazy. I actually have learned some stuff today that I did not know, which I am
Same.
very excited about.
Yeah.
Because I'm not like super freaked out by snakes unless they're chasing me. So there's that.
Mm.
But I also
Same.
don't think that I want them in my house. But
That's fair.
knowing that they do all these cool things, like I have
Yeah,
a new
there's-
appreciation.
Heck
There's a
yeah.
lot, you know, and I mean, I think that's it. It's more respect and appreciation than fear. But again, like you said, it goes back generation after generation. Don't touch that, you're gonna die, kind of thing. So
Right.
with the museum
Right.
and zoos and stuff like that, there's a lot of information that you can potentially find out. It's just a matter of where your interest is.
So what is the Instagram for this rattlesnake museum?
Yeah, so it should be the International Albuquerque Rattlesnake Museum, and
Okay.
it's abbreviated just because that's a super long name. So I think it's INTL Rattlesnake Museum, and we have all kinds of features on there. Bob Myers is a curator. He's been keeping snakes longer than I've been alive. No disrespect, Bob, but that guy makes me look like an amateur when it comes to snake knowledge. He is the man. So, if you get a chance to, we're located in Old Town Albuquerque. So, like, if you guys get a chance to come into town, it's a very tourist style attraction. So you can learn some stuff about snakes and then learn about our culture, Albuquerque wise as well. So it's
All
fun.
right.
Wow.
Monica, put it
Yes,
on our
ma'am.
list for when I go back there.
Okay.
And we will go check
It's-
it out.
It's on the list. I just started following them on Instagram, so
Sweet.
I'm curious now.
All
Nice.
right. Yeah. So everybody follow some rattlesnakes.
Yeah.
If you're in the New Mexico area, go check them out. Maybe you'll meet up with Mike there.
Yeah, and tag us in your photos if you get some cool stuff.
There you go.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
Crazy.
Thank you
That is-
for
yeah.
enlightening us today, because seriously, like, that was a lot of information that I had no idea about at all.
Same.
Yeah.
See how big this head is?
Yeah.
There's so much useless stuff in here. You have no idea.
It's
Me
not
too, but
useless. You
snakes
get to
is not
come
one
on
of
the
them.
petty details.
See? Yeah, you give us
Not
petty
useless.
details about snakes.
Exactly.
Right.
Done.
Yeah. And I give you petty
Done and
details
done.
about other things that you probably don't want to know about. But there you go.
Bridges. That
Yes.
bridge is whew.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Bad timing on that one. Sorry, Baltimore.
I had seen that
Unfortunate-
before, but I didn't
Unfortunate
realize.
timing.
Oh, yeah. You don't know the whole story, right?
Yeah.
But see, there you go. All right. So, everybody, thank you for joining us today. I hope that you learned something. Make sure that you follow them on Instagram. Make sure that if you're in Albuquerque, you check it out. Make sure that you check out some of our shirts. And we're going to have to make Mike one.
Yep.
I mean, I don't know what it's going to say yet, but we're going to make Mike one.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
Bushmaster?
Bushmaster.
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 That's what she said?
That is
I
what she said.
mean, you said, I
Cam?
was thinking it. You just said it.
That's it.
Yeah.
We have our shirt.
Yep.
Oh no. What did I do?
Genius. That's what you did.
Just made
Yes.
Mike a
Absolutely.
celebrity is what you did.
Absolutely.
Yep. And if you need
I'm not mad about it.
yeah, and if you need a new hairdo, go to the 1121 salon in Fort Wayne.
Do it.
All right. Everybody,
Yep.
stay petty, my friends, but stay away from rattlesnakes because they might be cranky and chase you.
Yeah, no. They won't. Especially when they're super far away from you.
She's learned nothing.
But she's learned nothing. I'm trying to be a good friend. As you can see, it is proven to the world now.
Right, right.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Stay petty, my
See ya.
friends. Bye.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Monica, our guest hosts, and listeners for getting into the petty details with me today. Stay petty, my friends.